Every woman at some point in her life carries an unspoken fear. Not of losing material possessions, not of facing hardships, but of hearing certain words from the man she values most. Words that cut deeper than anger, deeper than indifference. Words that declare, "I no longer need you to define me." This isn't about arrogance or cruelty. It's about freedom, self-respect, and inner strength. And this is where Stoicism, the ancient philosophy of resilience and wisdom, becomes incredibly relevant. The Stoics, from Marcus Aurelius to Seneca and Epictetus, understood something that many men today forget: that true power does not come from control over others, but from control over oneself. And when a man embodies this principle, he becomes someone who cannot be manipulated, cannot be broken, and cannot be enslaved by fear of loss. In this video, we will explore 7 to 10 powerful lessons from Stoicism that explain why these words hold so much weight, why women fear hearing them, and most importantly, how you, as a man, can live them out daily. Each lesson will connect Stoic philosophy with modern psychology, relationship dynamics, and practical advice for life. So let us begin. Lesson 1. The power of inner independence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The greatest fear a woman has in a relationship is losing influence over the man she loves. When she hears the words, "I don't need you to complete me," it shakes her because it signals independence. It signals that the man's identity does not revolve around her approval. In modern relationships, too many men tie their self-worth to female validation. They crave constant attention, affection, or reassurance. But the Stoics remind us, the one thing you truly own is your mindset. Practical application. Stop chasing external validation. Build daily habits of solitude, journaling, meditation, quiet reflection. Make decisions without relying on whether others will approve. When you master this, you don't repel women, you attract them. Because nothing is more magnetic than a man who stands firmly on his own. In every relationship, romantic, professional, or social, the greatest strength a man or woman can possess is inner independence. This doesn't mean cold detachment or isolation. Instead, it means the ability to stand firmly on your own, rooted in self-respect, without being enslaved by the approval or validation of others. The ancient Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, emphasized this virtue repeatedly. They taught that true freedom does not come from wealth, relationships, or external circumstances, but from mastering one's own mind. In modern times, this wisdom is more relevant than ever. Let's explore why inner independence is powerful. Through both Stoic philosophy and practical lessons we can apply daily. Marcus Aurelius on the mind as our only possession in Meditations. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This statement defines independence. If you rely on others to feel valuable, happy, or secure, you give away your power. But when you realize your inner thoughts, choices, and character are the only things truly yours, you become unshakable. Modern example. Think of a man who constantly needs his partner's reassurance to feel loved. If she withdraws affection, he collapses. Contrast that with a man who knows his worth regardless of approval. He doesn't demand validation. He chooses to share love from strength, not weakness. Practical takeaway. Spend 10-15 minutes daily journaling. Ask yourself, what today depends only on me? Recognize when you're chasing validation, pause, breathe, and remind yourself, I do not need their approval to be whole. Epictetus on freedom from attachment. Epictetus, born a slave, understood independence better than most. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Dependence on others, whether for money, happiness, or love, creates chains. If your peace depends on how someone else treats you, you are enslaved to their moods and choices. Modern example. Social media illustrates this perfectly. Many people tie self-worth to likes and comments. Their mood rises and falls with digital approval. This is dependence in disguise. Practical takeaway. Audit your daily life. Where are you emotionally dependent? Social media? Partner's moods? Friends' opinions? Start breaking chains in small steps. Reduce reliance on external validation by setting personal standards instead of waiting for others to approve. 3. Seneca on the poverty of desire. Seneca warned that craving constant reassurance makes us poor in spirit. He wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." If your happiness depends on someone else's constant presence, affection, or loyalty, you will always live in fear of losing it. Independence comes from appreciating connection, but never being enslaved by it. Modern example. A man who fears being single will tolerate toxic behavior just to avoid loneliness. But one who values himself can walk away if respect is lost, because his identity isn't defined by his relationship status. Practical takeaway. Practice being content alone. Take yourself on solo walks, meals, or projects. Build inner wealth, skills, discipline, and self-respect, so you never beg for scraps of validation. Why women and people in general respect independence from a psychological perspective. Independence signals strength and self-confidence. Dependency, on the other hand, signals insecurity. In relationships, when a man declares, "I want you, but I do not need you to complete me," it shifts the dynamic. He becomes a chooser, not a beggar. This creates respect, attraction, and balance. Practical takeaway. Replace neediness with choice. Instead of saying, "I can't live without you," say, "I enjoy sharing my life with you." Prioritize your purpose, passions, and growth. Relationships should add to your life, not define it. The modern application of Stoic independence. Independence doesn't mean rejecting connection. It means standing firm in who you are, so you can engage in relationships from a place of strength. Daily practices to build inner independence. Morning reflection. Remind yourself of your values before the world distracts you. Skill building. Develop areas of mastery, career, fitness, knowledge that no one can take away. Financial discipline. Create security so your choices aren't ruled by dependence. Emotional check-ins. Ask, am I reacting from strength or from need? Conclusion. The Stoics understood that the greatest prison is dependence on others for happiness, and the greatest freedom is independence of mind. When you embody inner independence, you send a powerful message to the world. I choose my path. I choose who I walk with, but I do not need anyone to define me. This is the power of Stoicism. This is the power of inner independence. Lesson 2. Control what you can. Accept what you cannot. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, taught the principle of the dichotomy of control. Some things are in our control, others are not. Women fear hearing the words, "I accept what I cannot control," because it means a man will not beg, plead, or lose himself trying to hold on to her. He will not crumble if she walks away. In relationships, many men try to control the uncontrollable, emotions, decisions, even the loyalty of another person. But the Stoic path is different. Control your own actions, thoughts, and character, and let go of the rest. Practical application. When facing conflict, ask yourself, is this within my control? If yes, act with reason. If not, release the outcome. Practice this with small things: traffic, delayed messages, someone's changing moods. This not only builds peace but also commands respect. A man who cannot be emotionally manipulated is a man who holds true power. One of the most powerful teachings from Stoicism is the principle known as the dichotomy of control. It comes from Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was once a slave and later became a great teacher. He said, "Some things are in our control and others are not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and in one word, whatever are not our own actions." This teaching sounds simple, but its depth is life-changing. Let's explore this lesson in detail, breaking it down into reasons, real-life examples, and practical advice so you can apply it every day. Freedom comes from what you control. When you focus only on what is within your power, you gain freedom. Why? Because you stop being a prisoner of external events. You cannot control whether someone loves you, whether the economy collapses, or whether people misunderstand you. but you can control your response, your discipline, and your attitude. Example: imagine you're stuck in traffic. You can't control the cars, the lights, or the delays. Many people waste energy cursing, honking, or stressing. A Stoic approach is different. You control your reaction. You can choose to use that time to listen to an audiobook, practice patience, or simply breathe. Practical advice: make a daily list. What is in my control today? And what is not? When stressed, pause and ask, is this mine to control? 2. Wasted energy weakens you. When you chase what you cannot control, you drain your strength. Complaining, worrying, or obsessing about the uncontrollable doesn't change reality. It only makes you weaker. Seneca wrote, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." Most suffering is mental. It comes from replaying fears and scenarios we cannot change. Example: if someone speaks badly about you, you cannot control their words. Many people obsess over reputation, trying to fix every rumor, but you can't control opinions. You can only control your character. Practical advice: refuse to fight unwinnable battles. Shift wasted energy into things you can influence: your health, skills, or mindset. Inner peace through acceptance. Peace comes not from control, but from acceptance. When you stop resisting what you cannot change, your mind becomes calm. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside event. Realize this and you will find strength." Example: you can't control the weather. If it rains on your vacation, being angry won't stop the rain. Acceptance turns disappointment into peace. You adapt, find joy in the new situation, and move on. Practical advice: practice saying, "It is what it is." Accept life's setbacks as part of the natural flow, not personal punishment. Relationships become healthier. Many conflicts come from trying to control other people. We want them to act, love, or think as we expect. But people have free will. You cannot control their choices. What you can control is how you communicate. Set boundaries and respond. Example: in relationships, you cannot control whether your partner always makes you happy, but you can control how you express your needs, how you manage your emotions, and whether you stay or walk away. Practical advice: stop trying to change people. Focus on your standards and actions. Respect others. Freedom as you protect your own. Strength in adversity. Stoicism doesn't promise a life free of hardship, but it gives you strength when hardships arrive. If you obsess over "why me?" in difficult times, you remain powerless. If instead you focus on "what can I do?" you reclaim power. Example: if you lose your job, you can't control the company's decision, but you can control how you respond. Learn new skills, seek new opportunities, and rebuild stronger. Practical advice: in every challenge, ask, what is within my control right now? Turn pain into fuel for action. It builds emotional resilience. Trying to control the uncontrollable leads to frustration, anger, and anxiety. But once you draw a line between mine and not mine, your emotions stabilize. Epictetus often reminded his students that external events are like actors on a stage. We cannot write their lines, but we can choose how we play our role. Example: you can't control rejection, whether from a job, a friend, or a romantic partner. But you can control your self-respect, your composure, and how quickly you move forward. Practical advice: when emotions rise, pause and label, "This is outside my control." Reframe rejection as redirection. It teaches you to live in the present. Most worry comes from trying to control the past or the future, both impossible. The Stoics teach us to focus on this moment, where our power truly lies. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Example: you can't control whether tomorrow will bring success or failure. You can only control how you show up today. Your effort, your focus, your integrity. Practical advice: practice mindfulness. Return to the present when your mind wanders. Focus daily on controllable actions, not hypothetical futures. Conclusion: control what you can. Accept what you cannot. This is not just a Stoic slogan, it is a way of life. It gives you freedom, protects your energy, it brings peace, it strengthens relationships, it builds resilience, it grounds you in the present. When you master this principle, you become unshakable. You no longer waste time fighting storms you cannot stop. Instead, you focus on steering your ship. As Epictetus put it, do not seek to have events happen as you want them to, but instead want them to happen as they do, and your life will go well. Lesson 3. The discipline of desire. Seneca warned against being a slave to desire. He wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In relationships, unchecked desire makes a man weak. When you are desperate for attention, sex, or validation, you lose leverage. A woman senses it. She knows you will tolerate disrespect, excuses, and neglect simply because your desire chains you to her. When she hears the words, "I desire you, but I do not depend on you," she feels both fear and respect. Fear because it removes her control. Respect because it reflects true masculine discipline. Practical application. Train yourself to delay gratification, whether in food, pleasure, or comfort. Be intentional. Want a woman, but never need her. Channel desire into personal growth, fitness, business, skill building. Discipline makes you magnetic. The man who controls desire controls the relationship. Lesson 4. Amor fati, love of fate. The Stoics believed in embracing reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." When a man tells a woman, "If you stay, I welcome it. If you leave, I welcome it too," it terrifies her, not because he is cold, but because he is free. This is amor fati, loving fate, accepting life's outcomes without bitterness. Modern men often cling desperately to relationships, fearing abandonment. But the Stoic man welcomes change, even loss, as fuel for growth. Practical application. When rejection or heartbreak comes, don't resist it, use it as motivation. Reframe losses as opportunities. Say daily, "I will greet whatever happens with strength." This mindset transforms you into a man who cannot be broken by circumstance. Lesson 5. Memento mori. Remember, you must die. The Stoics constantly meditated on mortality. Epictetus said, "You are a little soul carrying around a corpse." A woman fears hearing the words, "Life is short, and I will not waste it in misery." Why? Because it means you will not stay in a toxic relationship. You will not endure endless disrespect. You value your limited time too much. This perspective is rare. Most men waste years in unhealthy dynamics because they fear being alone. But when you embrace mortality, you no longer cling, you choose wisely. Practical application. Reflect daily. If today were your last day, would you tolerate this behavior? Prioritize meaningful connections over shallow attachments. Take bold action instead of waiting endlessly for change. Memento mori makes you urgent, decisive, and fearless. Lesson 6. Virtue above all. For the Stoics, the highest good was virtue, living with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. When a man says, "I will not compromise my principles for you or anyone," it unsettles a woman. It means his moral compass is stronger than his emotional desire. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." In modern life, men often sacrifice values to please women, lying, tolerating disrespect, or betraying themselves. But the Stoic man understands, without virtue, you have nothing. Practical application. Write down your non-negotiable values. When faced with temptation or pressure, ask, does this align with virtue? Seek respect, not approval. A virtuous man is unshakable, and that makes him unforgettable. Lesson 7. Emotional mastery, not emotional suppression. Seneca taught that emotions should not control us. Anger, jealousy, fear, they are natural, but dangerous if unchecked. A woman fears hearing the words, "You do not control how I feel," because it means her actions, silent treatments, emotional games, or manipulative tests lose power. This doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means mastering it. A Stoic man feels deeply but responds rationally. Practical application. Practice pause. Count to 10 before reacting in anger. Reframe triggers. Instead of, "She disrespected me," think, "This is a test of my composure." Channel emotions into strength, exercise, writing, focused work. Emotional mastery builds respect, trust, and lasting influence. Lesson 8. The shortness of time and the value of self. Seneca wrote in, On the Shortness of Life. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. When a man says, "I will not waste my life chasing someone who does not value me," it is one of the most feared truths a woman can hear. It means he treasures himself more than her opinion. Too many men waste their most valuable years chasing love where it is not reciprocated. A Stoic man invests his time wisely, building, creating, and growing. Practical application. Audit your time. Track how much you spend chasing versus building. Cut off draining relationships without hesitation. Pour energy into what builds your legacy. This is not just attractive, it's transformational. Lesson 9. The Fortress of Self-Reliance. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When a woman hears "I rely on myself first," before anyone else, it terrifies her because it signals unbreakable independence. Relationships are beautiful, but a Stoic man never builds his foundation on another. He builds his life so solid that whether a woman stays or leaves, his world remains intact. Practical application. Build financial independence. Develop self-care routines, physical, emotional, and spiritual. Avoid the trap of dependency. Self-reliance makes you both strong in solitude and stronger in love. Conclusion. The man who cannot be owned. Every woman fears hearing these words, not because they are cruel, but because they are true. I do not need you to complete me. I choose you because I want you, not because I must have you. This is the Stoic man, a man of independence, discipline, and virtue. A man who controls his mind, embraces fate, and treasures his time. A man who is unshakable not because he lacks emotion, but because he has mastered it. And here lies the paradox. The more you live this way, the more women respect, admire, and even desire you, because true power is not in needing, it is in choosing. Live with Stoic strength and you will never fear loss. Instead, others will fear losing you.